Guys, how is it going? We are back in the garage. Garage? People roasted me last time for my pronunciation. I'm not even sure what it is. We're back in the shop and we're doing some lure making. We're not just making lures today. We are gonna make them, paint them, get them all ready, and then we're gonna go up to middle of nowhere, northern Ontario, and hopefully catch some shallow, almost spawning, maybe pre-spawn lake trout, which is like one of the best, most fun ways to catch them. Today we are making, what are we making? Today we're making the Worm Nose Jig. We're gonna pour some lead for this mold, and we are making, where's part two? The OG Grub. This is actually a new one. Both of these by Do It Molds. Yeah, the OG Grub. It's your twister tail. It is like the most classic soft plastic. If your grandpa has one bait in his box, it is probably a twister tail. This is a 3.8-inch version. And honestly, I think twister tails are like a little bit overlooked. They're pretty incredible baits. Use them for walleye, use them for bass, and in this case, we're gonna try using them for lake trout. So we are first going to pour some lead, and then we're gonna get the plastic heated up and pour some plastic. So here we go. But first, need your safety gear. We got our mask. This will be tough to hear me, and then some goggles. When you're dealing with lead, things could get crazy. All right. So first thing is we're gonna put some hooks in here. The hooks that I like using are the Owner 5313. These are not cheap hooks. I think they're probably like $1 each, maybe a little bit more. You could use cheaper hooks, that'd be fine. This is like a good tournament grade hook. I'm using 1/0 for the smaller sizes, 2/0 for the bigger sizes. So now I'm going to just lay them out, get them ready in my mold, and then we're gonna pour some lead. There you go. Hooks are all in. Now we're gonna close it up. Something that I didn't mention that's a really good tip is to heat up your mold before you start pouring. It just helps with more consistent mold. So one thing you can do is you can put it on top of your pot as it's heating up, and that'll get this mold really hot. The other thing you can do is you can use like a heat gun or a blowtorch, heat it up. And then the third thing that I did is I'll just pour lead into the cavities without any hooks, and then I'll pull the lead out and just kind of cycle it to warm that up. Because sometimes if you just, the first time you do it, it won't pour perfectly. But I'm gonna throw some gloves on, and we're gonna pour our first set of jigs. All right, here we go. Let's take a look at our first batch. And that was perfect. Nice and smooth, filled the collar. So the next thing we're gonna do is that we're gonna have to break these sprues off. So I'm just gonna show you guys here, just a couple wiggles, and then that extra piece is gonna go back into the lead. All right, we're gonna hang up the mold. We are done. We're only making a couple jigs today. We got our handful of jigs. This mold goes all the way from 3/32 ounce up to 5/16 ounce. I think 5/16 ounce is probably the size I'm gonna use for Lakers the most, a little bit. That's the heaviest one on this mold. You can work it pretty fast, but these smaller ones are great if you want to tie hair jigs, you know, for finesse bass, stock trout, that sort of stuff. So we got our 5 jigs, and I've upped my jig painting game since the last time. I got something right here called a fluid bed. I think that's the term for it, a fluid bed. Essentially what you got is this white cylinder. It's got like a kind of a cheesecloth in the middle that allows air to push through it. And then you've got essentially, this piece here is like a bubbler for your fish tank. And what it does is you put your paint inside of this container. I'll show you guys on the GoPro here. You put your paint inside your powder paint. Like I said, it's got a membrane that allows air to go through in the bottom. And I'm gonna take the lid off. Once I plug this thing in, it kind of like bubbles all the paint, and it looks like a liquid. I'll show you guys once I plug it in. It's pretty trippy. It's like, what it does is it pushes all those paint particles apart. It does a couple things. Your paint goes way further because you're doing a thinner layer of paint, and also with it being a thinner layer, it covers your jigs that much nicer, that much more smoother. It's a pretty professional way to do it. Yeah, we're gonna plug it in. First, we have to heat up our jigs. Another thing that I learned wasn't good was I was using a candle before. Now I'm using a heat gun. So I'm gonna take the jig, hold over the heat gun for a couple seconds, dip into the fluid bed, and then it's gonna go into the oven for 20 minutes, and our jigs are done. So here we go. All right, first off, guys, look at this fluid bed. It's like a liquid. It's super, super cool. All right, we're turning on the heat gun. It's gonna get kind of loud. All right, once it's nice and hot, give it a couple swirls. And there you go. Not the best one, but I'm getting better. I'm just gonna hang it somewhere here for now. Give it a couple swirls. That is looking pretty good. We gotta paint, we gotta poke that eyelet out yet, and then we'll bake them, but almost done. All right, we're baking these couple jigs now at 350. All right, jigs are in the oven. We're baking them at 350 for about 20 minutes. Now we are gonna make some plastic. We got some big old containers of plastisol from Do It Molds. All this stuff will be linked below if you guys are looking for what tools you need. Once again, we need our safety gear, but we're gonna get our microwavable safe mixing container, I guess. I'm told you need to stir this stuff up. All right, pour a healthy amount in. Not too much. Sometimes if you do tons, it takes a lot longer to heat up. And I'm gonna start putting the microwave in like 1 minute increments. If you go too far with it, it will turn kind of a yellowish color, which is kind of a bit burning. So I'll do probably 2 minutes or 3 minutes for the first hit, and then a minute after that until it gets clear and that perfect consistency. And then I can add color, I can add sparkle, all that good stuff. But this is going in the microwave. We're gonna crack the garage door, and I'm gonna put on my safety gear. All right, guys, I'm about to pull the plastic out. I'm gonna add a little bit of color. I'm gonna add some silver hollow fleck and some hyper highlights. This is like a very fine type highlight. We're gonna add those two and hopefully be like a nice blue kind of iridescent type color. We got the consistency we're looking for, just add in a couple more seconds to get it perfect, and we're gonna try to make our first batch of OG Grubs. All right, we're adding a little of this powder. You don't need much. And then a little silver fleck. That's gonna be a sweet color. All right, now we're gonna pour it into our injector and we're gonna try our first batch. And then the next step is I'm gonna purge all the air out. There we go, and here we go. Batch number 1. All right, the excess is gonna get poured back in here. We'll open it up here. And oh. Wasn't pretty, but we got a perfect pour. Look at this color, guys. This is amazing. This is our first 2, look at that, 2 beautiful grubs. So I'm just gonna rip it off. I'm gonna show you guys some close-ups yet, but look at these. Look at these amazing, look at that color. Like, yeah, those are gonna be killers. Big walleye size, big bass size, and maybe lake trout sized. I'm gonna show you what it's gonna look like rigged up on a jig, and then we're headed to the lake. All right. Welcome out to the lake. Yeah, this is the goal, as you saw in the garage. We are trying to catch some fish on the OG Grub with the bullet nose jig that we just whipped up. We're fishing for lake trout today, spawning lake trout, or almost spawning lake trout. Lake trout like to come shallow when the water hits mid to low 50 degrees. We got 54 degrees right now in Northwest Ontario, and We're gonna see what we can catch. I feel like swim baits get so much attention for good reason. The thing about a grub is it falls a little bit faster, it doesn't have as much resistance, and it's a little more of a subtle approach. So you can fish it a little faster, a little deeper. You can vertically jig it a little bit better. And yeah, it's once again something that the fish used to see all the time. And I think a lot of people still throw jigs and twister tails. A lot of old timers like to do that. But it's pretty effective. So we're gonna see if we can catch some beautiful colored up fall Lakers on the OG Grub. Might be vertical, might be casting, I'm not sure. But we're gonna do a little driving, see if we can mark some first on the live scope. So lake trout like to spawn on shallower, cobbly type shoreline, like fist-sized boulders. So yeah, they might be up already, or they might be a little deeper on the first break. Like I said, spawning is probably really gonna hit its peak within the next week or two. I think we're a little bit early, but there are some fish shallow. So see if we can find shallow fish first. Something that I have been noticing, because I haven't done a lot of fishing for these shallow lake trout, is they're pretty boat shy. So you can't really drop down on them when you're in 15 feet of water. You kind of gotta cast at them from a distance. So we'll see if we can find any in front of the boat. Right there, a couple dots. Those are fish. Yeah, right there. See those? About 80 feet in front of the boat, and there's 3 fish there. So I've gotten lots of questions asked about how I have my transducer mounted for my live scope. It is right on the corner here. So I know if it's shooting, right now it says 60 feet in front of the boat, then you subtract the length of the boat, and then that's approximately how many feet ahead of the boat it is. So I'm casting, yeah, 40 feet in front of the boat. First cast. Ridiculous, ridiculous. So I'm just gonna try to stay off this pot of fish to not spook the rest. And the OG Grub did it. It's just cool catching fish on baits you make. We'll net this guy. Look at that bait. Just gone, chomped it on the fall. All right, hook is out. That is a beautiful little fall Laker for you guys. Number one. I'll show you guys how I'm rigging this up today. So I painted a couple different ones, but obviously nice white is good to match a smelt or Cisco type imitation. That's what we're going with. So white powder paint, as you saw with my new fluid bed. And this is the white pearly color of the OG Grub. And I like, this is a little bit of a beefier size than your typical walleye tail. I think this is, it's gotta be like 3.5 or 4 inches. It's pretty long. So what I'm gonna do is, I've heard different things about this. If you wanna have the curly side with the hook, or the curly side going the opposite direction, hooking up. But right now, I'm gonna thread it through and start sliding it in. And right now, I can push it all the way on. So there we go, it's gonna run pretty straight. Curly tail up is what I like. But if you want your baits to last a lot longer, pull it back off the edge there. And I'm gonna take just a couple dabs of Gorilla Glue. We're gonna just add a couple dabs of Gorilla Glue right on the edge here. And you don't need much, but your soft plastics, now you're like, Jay, you're so cheap. You already make your own. How much cheaper does it get? But a little bit of crazy glue, and now when I slide it on, I'm just gonna let it set for a couple seconds, and that is gonna stick so much better. I'm using a 3/8 ounce, which cuts through the water. The nice thing about the shape of this jig is it's nice and narrow. It cuts fast. I want a jig in this scenario that I can cut fast. Don't want a ton of resistance, because I might be fishing vertically. I might try to find some deeper fish yet, or I might be casting shallow, but I'm not looking for necessarily a slow hover in the water column. I'm casting it out, doing a straight retrieve, maybe popping it a bit, but there we go. See if we can get a couple more. Oh, there we go. See that? 2 fish. Oh, there's more. Look at that, another fish there. So it says 30 feet. So the boat's about 18 feet long. So I'm gonna try to cast, well, I don't wanna cast right on top of the fish. I'm gonna try to go maybe 15 feet ahead of the boat, maybe 20 feet ahead of the boat. I'm gonna let it fall. That last fish ate it on the fall, which was super cool. Letting it fall, letting it fall, letting it fall. Now I'm just gonna slowly lift it up. And nothing too crazy. I'm just kind of swimming in the water column. Here we go, 2 for 2. Man, these fish aren't big. I know they're not big, but casting light tackle and catching these beautiful Lakers. It's a little bit bigger. Nice orange fins. Look at the orange fins on this guy. Just beautiful. Chowing that. We're fishing with light gear. Not the typical lake trout stuff. I know a lot of times when you guys see me lake trout fishing, obviously I like to fish for big fish. In this scenario, just fishing for some small fish. I'm on a camping trip with the family and I snuck away for an hour to film this part of the video. But yeah, we're fishing with lighter tackle. So like I said, 3/8 ounce jig with this grub. I'm using a 3,000 size spinning reel, 15-pound braid. This is a 7.3 medium light. Any 7.5 foot medium spinning rod is gonna be perfect for this. And the fluoro leader, maybe a little bit on the beefier side. This is 20. 12 would be fine as well, but just we're catching these fish in these shallow rocks. So it's nice to have a little more abrasion resistance with that heavier fluoro, but 2 for 2. All right, a couple more fish, 12 o'clock. See if we can get lucky. Oh, I missed him. And I think he pulled my pants down. There we go. Missed him. Another one came back. Guys, we're catching lake trout. If I were to eat lake trout, this would be the perfect eating size. Jig popped out. And there you have it. Saw a couple fish, slammed on the brakes. I think I'll have to be lucky to get one of these. They are eating it. Look at those dots. Such sweet fish, such predators. And my favorite time of year to fish with them is when they come shallow, because it's almost like musky fishing when you catch them shallow. I mean, I've had lake trout eat right by my feet, which is so cool, casting big baits. I've heard of people figure eighting Lakers before. And when they come in shallow, even before spawning or shortly after spawning, they're pretty predatorial. All right, guys, so as you saw, they love to eat it. Cast into the shallows. Well, we're gonna see if there's some bigger fish a little deeper. We're gonna try vertically jigging, and that's the cool thing about, like I said, this bait, it's versatile, right? The thing about you know, a big swim bait with a big kicking tail, it's great. It has a little more vibration. The fish might feel a little bit better, but you can't drop it down as deep, right? So we're gonna go look for some deeper fish. Got some waypoints here from the other day and try to wait for some of those, because there's always, not all fish spawn at the same time. So we're gonna see if there's some a little deeper off the edge here that we can drop down on. All right, here's another fish we're coming up on. This one, it's gonna happen. Lake trout are great because they love to suspend. So this one is 50 feet down, over about 60 feet of water. You can see the fish to the right there. My lure on the left falling down, and hopefully he should start swimming at it as the lure is falling. Oh, he's coming fast. Look at that. Look at him race. Got him. Oh, that was so cool. I couldn't see my lure, but you could see the fish just swimming for it. And typically the ones we've been hooking out deeper here have been a little bit bigger. Well, might be time to retire that grub. But guys, catching fish on your outbaits is so fun. And if you're looking to get into it, it's not that expensive, especially if you're melting down old plastics. It's a great way to reuse them. I have a bunch of flukes that I was using on this trip that got all ripped up, so I got a little water on the lens. And knowing that I can reuse all of them, you know, it's great. Knowing that I'm not needing to go buy another pack. If you fish a lot of soft plastics, I mean, yeah, get the 1 or 2 molds you use the most. If you use a grub a lot for walleyes or a swim bait a lot for walleyes and bass, you know, play around with it. If you have a microwave and some old plastic baits, buy a mold and an injector, you can do it. I hope you guys are enjoying these lure making videos. That was a very quick little fishing session. I fished for about 25 minutes right there. Nothing big, but amazing action. So cool, catch them on your own baits. Guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for all the support. I am just humbled every time you guys comment on the videos. For everyone that watches it, I can't believe it. You guys are the best. And yeah, I'm just so thankful. Don't forget to wear your life jacket. Jeez, I wasn't wearing my life jacket the entire time. Guys, what an idiot. What an idiot. I took it off. I was driving. You guys saw it. Man, practice what you preach. I do wear my life jacket all the time. I forgot when I took off, as you guys saw. Oh, I'm kind of embarrassed. Guys, I don't say this just for kicks. I don't say this because a sponsor tells me to. I think a life jacket can save your life. I think, you know, even when you're not on plane, you should be wearing a life jacket. You know, things can happen really fast, especially when you're fishing by yourself. If I fall out and knock my head, I don't want to die, right? So wear a life jacket. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next time.